To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome to Fresh Baked Presents, a happy place where each week we combine imagination with our experience to discuss, challenge, and explore all things Disneyland. I am Ron Berner, and with me, as always, Mr. Fresh Baked himself, the indelible David Erickson.
What's up, Fresh Baked?
And this is the Fresh Baked Presents podcast, episode 39. Thank you for joining us, where today we dive into the new Magic Key Passes. We reach into the mailbag to answer your questions and, of course, our 5 things Disneyland. Mr. Erickson, holy adventures of technology, or tech.
It never ends.
We've been through
it never ends.
It never ends. We've had shutdowns. We had everything. We started the podcast an hour ago, and now we're just beginning. But I digress. Mr. Erickson, how has, especially in lieu of the new announcements with the parks, with the Magic Key Passes, has your experience been in the parks and your thoughts and all that good stuff?
Well, I would say, as we get into this conversation, Magic Keys, that is, and the renewals coming up, that I'm always hyper aware of crowds and how the park feels on a day-to-day basis, and something that I've noticed on the last couple of visits, and I think this is mostly for the night runs, I believe, that I'm noticing that, but I get the sense, I get the feeling that there is a certain percentage, a subset of Magic Key holders who are trying to cram in a few extra visits, hitting the parks at the end of the night or something like that than usual, because I have a feeling there's going to be some non-renewals happening. But that's just so that, at the outset here, that's something that we'll see what happens. I'm going to be doing some tests on crowds and how they are before and after both the 25th and the 26th. But that's something that I've noticed recently.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. I'm a Saturday weekend warrior for the most part.
Yeah.
So my experience this past Saturday was pretty, I don't want to say light, but it was very navigationable. Like, I didn't have any issues. I didn't really notice it, but that's such an interesting point, that who may be not returning due to
and that could be why you didn't notice it on Saturdays, because that's not typically, these days in the present environment, Saturdays are not necessarily a Magic Key day. It is for certain keys, but a lot of those keys are going during the week and at nights.
Right. And
I think that maybe that's why I'm noticing it during those time periods, as opposed to in the middle of the day or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. That was a Dream Key thing, and that was, remember, that the whole marketing strategy, which is interesting because they really changed it for this one in particular, which I'll get into. But the Dream Key, the reason that my young child had to also have a Dream Key is because we go on Saturdays, and if you had anything but a Dream Key, you were not going to go on Saturdays, which kind of segues a little bit into this time. I mean, I guess I wanted to find out your take, but the big thing that I noticed immediately is, because I go on Saturdays, right? The big thing that I noticed immediately was like, wait a second, I don't have to get my son the Imagine this time, because the Believe Key doesn't have it. I actually wrote it down. It has 19, not counting the Christmas holiday, which is that 2 Saturdays, right? Mm-hmm. Not counting those 2, because nobody's getting those, but that's 19 Saturdays that you're not going to get, and combine that with only 4 Sundays of those 19. So there's only 4 weekends that are not the holidays that you can't get with the Believe Key. So this time, I didn't have to get 2 Imagines.
You mean Inspire?
Inspire. I thought that was interesting, but
that is.
What's your overall take?
I think that there's a lot of people who are reevaluating what is important to them, and what their goals are in terms of going to the park, and we're trying to sort of make do. Which, my goodness, that's sort of the way of the world these days. They keep taking stuff away and take, and we're all just trying to see what we can get by with. And I don't want to get off on a rant, but for me, I mean,
it's easy.
For me and for Liz, there was no choice. It was Inspire. I mean, we didn't have I don't go much on Saturdays anymore, but So it didn't really, it doesn't make any difference to me. But I just need to be able to go as often as I possibly can, really.
That is so interesting because I knew you'd get the Inspire because, of course, you're going to get the highest level you can get. But when I was looking at it, and like, you're basically getting it for like the 1 month where there's a lot of days blocked out. Because other than that, you can go. There's no time throughout the entire year that you can't go, 4 or 5 times a week on any key.
No,
well,
I could probably make it work. I could probably make the Believe key work. I just don't want to. I don't want to have to make it work, and it's not like I can. The cost difference for me wasn't so big a deal that I was like, oh my God, I need to make a decision.
Right.
Which I mean, I come from I'm fortunate in that sense. But yeah, there's just, I don't want to have to, the less stress, the better. And it's funny because I feel like as humans, we want that. We want things to be as easy and simple as possible, remove obstacles, that kind of thing. And that's the opposite of what we're getting. We're getting more and more, things getting in the way of being able to do stuff. So, but yeah, it was easy for me in that sense.
Yeah, it was easy for me in that sense as well, because the two things that are 100% is obviously you can go whenever you want, with the exception. I always want to say with the exception because I don't want to get called out for saying you can't go, but with the exception of the 2 weeks over Christmas. So that is nice, but I maintain that with a young child, he's getting older now, so it's less important. But the photo pass, even though the top 2 tiers get it, the photo pass I think is just an awesome free perk to get.
I had a feeling you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, but I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of pictures, so we can go and get every ride picture. We can get pictures through. When you go to an actual photo pass cast member, they'll basically do whatever you ask them to do and give you magic shots and all those things. And Disney will charge you like $40 or whatever for each picture. Now I'm getting 25 for free digitally.
Well, there's no point in paying per picture though on those things. You got to buy the whole day. Otherwise, I mean. Yeah,
right. And then also the other thing is obviously the parking is $30. So the price hike for me, again, it was a no-brainer for me, but for him, when I started looking at it, I was like, literally, it doesn't, and I only have them 50% of the time anyway. So it was like, honestly, all the perks and everything you get with one of those passes. So that it was a no-brainer. It would have been foolish actually for me to get 2 Inspires. But the parking, the 20% off of food, merch, that kind of thing. And the difference is $200. So again,
that's all $200.
I know, but the thing is like I know people hate to hear that we're not priced out or whatever, but I just go back to value, right? The value that you're getting, in my opinion, is so good, and so good from the standpoint that I only need to go to, especially if you include parking, it's 7 point something, and I'm using the number system based on an average Saturday is not an average, but they're either 219 or 224, and I know you can go for other days that are like 164 park hopper wise. I'm including this as a park hopper.
Wait, you're talking about, is it 164 for a park hopper?
For just a Disney, yeah, I think it's on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, not on a Saturday.
It's 200 plus for a peak day on a park hopper.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Based on that, so then you could always say, well, you could have got a lesser pass. I go, no, I can't because I go on Saturdays. So I'm using the math that dictates what a Saturday price is.
$200 a pop,
Right. So using that logic and that math, and then say I only need to go to the park 8 times in a year, and then that's
not even 8, 7 really, because of the parking, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it is 7 with the parking, right? It's so to me, it's like. Sorry, that's just. I mean,
like I'm not going to go to Disneyland 7 times.
Right, and you hate to say it because, like, I get it because the problem I have is I'm such a fanboy of business, and I love Disney's marketing. We're going to get into tons of that. I love their marketing side of things. I hate their technology. They still are horrible at email. They have no idea what they're doing in many areas. But as far as buzz and advertising and cross promotion, they're genius. But there's that side that I'm fascinated by and that I love, but there's also the fanboy that's like wants to go to Disneyland and say, wow, it cost me $5 for a pickle.
Yeah.
Like, it's
actually
crazy,
now it's $5.30 because all the prices went up by 8-10%.
Yep, all the prices did go up. There was like a little discreet thing. I'm glad you noticed it because I was going to mention it, but I didn't know if you knew. But yeah, there was lots and lots of places that corn dogs, like the little kind of the little things that weren't mentioned, weren't really discussed, but everything went up $1, 50%, things like that. So I don't know, but the Magic Key Pass system in general, what your overall thoughts compared to the old one or compared to what you think may be down the road? Are we locked into this?
No. Okay. This is it's such a fluid thing. First of all, I was surprised, very surprised that we got basically the same, more or less the same system. They didn't change the blockout calendar. They added a couple of perks to bring people in a little bit, which that also surprised me. I thought we're going to get less. I mean, I guess we did get the Dream Key is getting less than it did before because of the 10 days in December. But I was surprised at how little change there was to the program, and that is telling. Actually, to me, I feel like once again, the reason why we got the same program is because they still haven't decided what they want their program to look like. And that's going to be the subject, a whole nother video that we're going to be working on, because there's a lot of, this is such a nuanced conversation in terms of what the reservation system is and why it's here and how it relates to things like Magic Keys and everything else, and Lightning Lane and Genie Plus. The fact that we got renewals at all is purely a factor of them not wanting to bomb the next quarter. That the finance guys got a hold of whoever's in charge of releasing a key system and said, look, either you make up your mind or this is going to be a disastrous quarter. They're going to miss out on all that renewal revenue. They had already stopped selling keys for a while. So I feel like that's baked in. That they're not worried about whether or not they're going to sell any more Magic Keys. They're kind of settled into that for now. But to lose any potential sales and the renewal income, which is, how many do you think? A couple 100,000 keys are out there, right? So
I maintain it's the Wild Wild West. They're lying to us about all of it.
Well, let's just say the old number was 1 million. Okay, so the pre-COVID number was 1 million keys or 1 million annual passes. Right. I don't think they're anywhere near that number now. But let's just say, for conservative reasons, less than half of that. Let's just say 300,000. Multiply that by, what, $100 a month? And that's, what is that, 30 million? 30 million a month? Almost $500 million a year that they would just, that's gone.
Yeah.
Magic Key revenue is huge.
Magic Key revenue is huge, and it's also huge because they can get you again. This is why I am more convinced, and I've been convinced since they gave the sunsetting program about revenue management and yield management. I've talked about this before, and no, Disney is not doing variable pricing. People try to come at me on social media and tell me that Disney is doing variable pricing. No, they're not. You think they are because it looks like it's variable to you. Variable pricing in a yield management is perishable inventory such as plane tickets, and they're not doing that. And what I mean by that is every single day the prices change for a plane ticket in a hotel room, and that's based on demand, and that's based on and only possible with a reservation system. So you want to talk about how Magic Key works in that system? It works like, well, I don't know. They're smarter than I am. But one way that it works is the same way that the Disney Vacation Club works, which is you can use your Magic Key Pass, but you're using this many points on that day, and you only have an allotment of X number of points for the year. So your Magic Key Pass, whatever, I don't know, something to that effect.
Are you saying you're
maximize revenue?
You're equating a reservation system to the DVC point system?
Well, I'm saying in a reservation system is how you get revenue management, which is to change your prices of park entry on a daily basis. And how does that apply to Magic Key passes? Because you already have a Magic Key, right? Well, then one way to do it is if you're using a point system. I'm just saying, like, for example, how do you handle it? You can't go to revenue management with an annual pass unless somehow the annual pass is factored into it. And I don't know what the final answer is. I'm just saying all the lines and all the tea leaves have pointed to this since the beginning. Remember I was saying how it's only possible with perishable inventory, and then Mr. Chapek likes to come out with his we are pricing and looking at things with a surgeon's precision. So I agree. It's not done yet. It's not done. You're right.
That statement bothered me more than the unfavorable mix, which we'll get into. But and that did not get any run on social media. Nobody paid any attention to that because he said it after. He said it in an interview the next day, I think. But this is just the beginning. I think that I've tried to. There's some ideas. I've been talking to people, and there's some ideas I got floating about because look, the reservation system and annual passes, Magic Keys. I've been saying this since the beginning. They do not go together. They are like oil and water. It's so difficult to do one and have the other. So there's got to be some sort of other end game, and he teased us with that. I think he kind of he gave us a peek at. There's more pricing situations. Get ready for more on that, I think, where they're going to get more creative and they're going to try to sell more things because they're not done. Ron, how do you beat year over year figures every single year? How do you do that? The way you do that is by creating more product that didn't exist before. They have to keep reinventing ways to do that. Yeah.
And they're changing their margin by when they charge how many corn dogs they sell in a year. And they just raise the prices on that 50 cents very discreetly where nobody knows whatsoever. But 50 cents for every corn dog sold globally.
In excess of the inflation rate, and already an inflation rate that was already pretty high.
Right. They're in no need. But that being said, I still think they could raise. Let's put it this way. Let's say that they did get rid of the Magic Key passes, and I don't know how many days they'd be filled with people that were going just buying single-day tickets or 5-day whatever tickets without a Magic Key pass. But if they just open the floodgates for people to buy, or even look at it a different way, if they were going to sell Magic Key passes to everybody, but it was going to be $2,000 plus or whatever for each one, they're still going to sell out. That's
not enough.
Where right. That's the problem. I shouldn't say the problem, but we're at the mercy. There's a tipping point. There's a tipping point where they price you out, and they haven't done it yet, even though it's still the most exclusive premium ticket that you can get. And they haven't done it yet.
They've priced some people out. I feel like there's just so much demand that. Well, yeah, I know, but I guess what I'm saying is that every year we hear this, I'm done. We hear this every single year when they raise prices. And every single year, I'm sure they do lose some. But there's, it's like a Hydra. Like Disneyland guests are like Hydra. You chop off one head and, you get another one in its place. Now, I don't know what that number is to price so many people out that it starts to affect attendance. We'll see. But we're not there yet still. I was shocked that it was still people were like, David, this is so much. I'm like, no, it's not. 1,600. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when you look at it from a relative scale, what was that percentage? I had it before, but
$200 on 1,400 is 15%. Yeah, 15%.
Yeah. So, that when you look at it from that, it's big. It is big. Like they went up that much. They went up 15% by taking stuff away.
Well, but they went up 50. But you got to consider that they. I just don't know. I don't know if people really appreciate at least if you compare it to what the general attendance. What am I trying to say here? When you consider that $1,400 was super cheap. That if they're trying to find that balance between guests going as often as 50 times a year or something like that, then what is that where you're trying to get? It's like, because I go 50 a year, and I'm sure there's tons of people who go 50 a year. Like
right.
If you do the math on that, that's that $200 a pop, you're looking at $10,000.
They should almost. The fact that they're not doing it, I was going to say they should almost market it by saying you only need to go to Disneyland 8 times a year with this pass. But the reason they're not doing it is because supposedly there's an X number of passes, so they don't need to up the buzz to try to sell the passes because there's exclusive. There's only so many that they're giving out supposedly. which I still think it's going to be the Wild Wild West. I still think they're going to sell as many as they possibly can. Do you think Gold's Gym is saying, no, we're good, we're good, we're good, and that goes back to the attendance mix? Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I didn't know you were going.
I was just going to say the attendance mix, which is a whole. We definitely get into that now. But the attendance mix element is the premium price that they can get per head through that turnstile and in park spending. So the whole point is that's where that attendance mix element of things is always going to be like, how do they improve it? How do they make it better? And they did that in a way, because I know everybody took it personally. I know you're definitely going to get into this, but the Magic Key holders are part of the attendance mix, bringing it down. And that was really a slip of the tongue by Chapek, to be honest with you. He was too transparent. He got himself in trouble because what he said was absolutely just business terminology. He didn't say anything wrong, but people took it offensive because he said too much about it.
I've been saying this for years. These guys talk as if nobody else is listening, except as if only investors and bankers are listening.
That's a good way
to put it. You know what I mean?
It's a great way to put it. It's such a great way to put it.
Like, there's unfavorable attendance mix. We're like, dude, we're right here. We're right here, Bob. We can hear you.
Well, I talk about it. I talk about media mix, customer mix, clientele mix, marketing mix. Like these are business terms, and he let the cat out of the. You just laid it out perfectly. Like we're not listening. Like we're not here. Like we don't. Like it's over our head. Like we don't comprehend it. Yeah. So what he said isn't wrong. I think it's funny. I'm on board with snark, and I'm on board with seeing the shirts. Like,
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's funny. Like I get it, but I also didn't take it personal in the slightest because I understand the point. The point is, and the reason I say that is because they did that in a way with Magic Keys. So if Magic Keys are not paying the premium dollar to go in, because like I just said, I only need to go 8 times. So when I go 9, 10, and you go 50, when you're hitting 47, 48, 49, 50, that means you're paying about $3 a visit to walk through those turnstiles.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't do the math. I just threw a number out there, but you get the point.
It's
but
low.
What they do by raising the 15% and making you need to go to the parks more often is they nipped into that marketing mix to make it a little bit better. But then they gave the perks to the other lower level passes by giving you the percentages off parking and those type of things. And what that does is open the door for like the lower they're trying to appeal to all price sensitive or price abilities, right? So it's
those lower keys aren't going to be buying any more stuff, I don't think, are they?
Not in the parks, but they're going to sell more of them, even though they sell out anyway. True. So what's the point?
Yeah.
But your marketing mix thoughts, even though you probably said.
Well, you mean in terms of the unfavorable mix?
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you had more to say on that.
Oh, well, I could go on about Magic Keys and an unfavorable mix for a while if you want. I don't know if it's something I mentioned in a previous video. The unfavorable mix, if you want to get to something specific, after his follow-up comments, etc., I think that what he's talking about is Genie Plus. Because that conversation about daily spend and per capita spending, per guest spending, that kind of thing, was within the framework of how it was up across the board. It was up due to Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lane, except at Disneyland where it was not, where they had an unfavorable mix. So what he's saying is, guests at Disneyland aren't buying Genie Plus. They're not buying individual Lightning Lane. And that is obvious. That is obvious to anybody paying attention. So that's what he wants to. They want to sell more Genie Plus, which I've been saying. I don't know if they do or not truly, because if they truly wanted to sell more Genie Plus to that unfavorable mix, I am one of them, I'm sure, because I don't buy Genie Plus. If they wanted to sell it to me, they should just $300. When I buy my pass, charge me $300, and you got my $300. You can have my $300, and I may not even use it. You can have my $300 if you sell it to me up front, or you get $0 from me if you try to get it to me a la carte on a daily basis, because that's the difference. You're going to get $0 from me if you sell it a la carte. You can get $300 from me if you sell it to me all at once.
Right. So there's a lot there that you said. I agree. That last part especially I agree with. If they're going to sell a lot of them if they do sell them in that in that bulk sum for sure. No question about it. I akin the whole discount thing to sell more Genie Plus, because you also hit the nail on the head with that. I totally agree that is part of the marketing mix, and obviously we always talk about it. Disneyland's a country club. It's a locals vibe. It's a locals thing, because it's just proximity. It's just right there, and we can go. Mm-hmm. That's why the annual passes, or Magic Key passes, are so beneficial to us that live near the park. That Magic Key or that Genie Plus discount is kind of like Taco Bell. I think I've mentioned this before. When Taco Bell gives a free taco when the Lakers score 100 points or whatever, nobody's going to Taco Bell for that 39
show of hands. Who's doing
that? Only, right? You're buying your whole family food. They're there. You got a 39-cent taco. So that's how those type of marketing elements work, and they're genius, and they work. So to your point, it was smart to give the discount, and it was ineffective immediately, because I'm still on the Dream Key. And when I went this past Saturday, and I do buy Magic Keys, I bought them, and it was $16. And I didn't even know. I'm like, why is it $16? I don't understand. Or it was a total of $32 to buy them both. I was like, that is so interesting. But they already applied a pass that I didn't even have yet.
That wasn't obvious right away, but I did see that. Somebody pointed out to me later that they went ahead and retroactively offered it to Dream Keys while you still have it.
Well, I was just going to say, they gave it to Dream Key, and I don't have a Inspire. I do now. I bought one today, but
if you're a Dream Key right now, you can get 20% off of Genie Plus.
Right. And then what was the other thing that you said? Oh, the other thing is, like, you say that you're not interested in Lightning Lane, but we do the parks very differently. Like, I go to I go on 30 rides. You go on 2. So for us, it's like we have to get it, because otherwise, I'll tell you why Lightning Lane is, it's all about DCA. Disneyland doesn't even need a Lightning Lane. It doesn't even need it. It does not need it, and I maintain that. We wipe out all the Lightning Lane attractions in Disneyland. The only one that there can be a hiccup is, and this is not Rise notwithstanding, the only one where there can be a hiccup in is Indiana Jones, but if you can knock that out, before 10 a.m., and you usually have just a very reasonable wait.
Well, if you don't
need it at DCA,
you need it for Space Mountain. If you don't get there at Rope Drop, you need it at Space Mountain.
Yeah, and what kind of monster would consider that?
What kind of foolish person wouldn't do Rope Drop at Disneyland on a Saturday?
You know what's funny is I basically, if there's a serial killer that wants to find me, they know where I'm going to be, because I'm always the same place at the same time. So, and the reason I say that is because I run into the same fans of the show at Rope Drop constantly, and they're like, "We didn't see you here last week." I'm like,
if you're ever needed in court and a process server needs to find Ron Burner, be at Space Mountain at 8 a.m. on Saturday.
8 a.m. on Saturday. I see the same faces constantly, goes through the same thing. Here's a funny little segue. Then when we're going to move on, I went to the ticket booth, and same exact thing. The secret I have is I hit the gates, the Mickey and Friends parking structure at 7:30. And I go far left, and nobody knows that it's a wide open lane. The very, very far left, nobody knows it's open. So
sometimes you have to ninja. You have to ninja through the.
People ninja, but I already know, and I go, and there's like 5 or 6 cars deep, and I just drive up every single time. Well, anyway, this time, but I also hit it exactly at 7:30, because right before that is when they pull the cones to go over the bridge.
That's right.
Not that you need to do that, but anyway. I think it was Glenn. So I go to the ticket booth, and he was like, "You and David do a fantastic job on the Fresh Baked Presents podcast. We love it. Watch it all the time." And this is the guy taking the ticket. We weren't even in the park yet. I was like, "That's so cool." I love it when people say stuff like that. So with that, we want to put a button in the Magic Keys and move on to some of the Disney chatter.
Yeah. What you got? Something or nothing?
Something or nothing. There are different things. There's a couple things that just right off the top. D23 had some announcements for some Disney legends. I can let you know who they are. Kristen Bell. Do you know who she is?
All right.
Yeah. Anthony Anderson.
Wait, Anthony Anderson. That's Blackish, right?
Yep. That's Blackish, and they have his whole thing here, but is
there anything
ABC stuff?
Okay.
Nothing Disney that I can see. Sorry for my head being tilted for those that can see me because of the monitor situation, part of the tech issues. Of course, the great Chadwick Boseman.
Okay.
Obviously worthy, and he does not need any more to say on him, because he's deserving. Robert Coltrane was a Disney Imagineer who did Radiator Springs Racers, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Good with
so
that.
He's Imagineers that have been there. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets fun. Well, not fun. Well, Josh Gad, Frozen, a lot of the
well, I guess. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I always just the Beauty and the Beast. I can never remember the guy he plays in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, he plays LeFou.
Oh yeah, LeFou. I always get LeFou and the main
Gaston.
guy mixed up. Gaston, yes, and it's funny because I absolutely love Beauty and the Beast, and yet I can't think of character names. But he's on a lot of Disney stuff, all kinds of little Disney things all over the place, and some big ones, obviously, like Frozen.
Yeah. Well,
So
okay.
there's
Is there more, or is that?
Yeah, there's more. There's my favorites are Patrick Dempsey of Can't Buy Me Love fame, Ronald Miller, and Ellen Pompeo.
Wait. Slow down. So Patrick Dempsey is a Disney legend?
Patrick Dempsey will be a Disney legend come September 8th, 9th, but he was announced. Let's see what The Magical World of Disney. He had an appearance on there. He had some films.
Is Grey's Anatomy Disney?
Yeah, because it's ABC.
Okay.
McDreamy, is it?
Yeah, McDreamy, yeah.
I'm out of touch with Brother Bear. He was a voice in Enchanted. Brother Bear.
Well, yeah, he's what do you call it? That one movie, with Amy Adams.
I don't know. The Art of Racing in the Rain.
No.
No. Sweet Home Alabama.
No. The Amy Adams one, where she's a princess, and
they don't mention it, so it can't be that good. Enchanted.
And is that it? Enchanted?
A Fighting Choice? No, I don't know. I'm just reading titles that they're.
Well, now you got me looking at
D23. Well, D23 is the one who. This is their, tombstone, what they call it, like their stat line.
Okay.
And it's no Amy Adams movies.
And then okay, was there any more?
Ellen Pompeo, who's Grey's Anatomy only.
Well,
and then there's
yeah.
Adina.
So I guess they are
Adina
doing
Menzel.
it is basically just Grey's Anatomy.
If you're under the Disney, yeah, it might be also like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, like the stars in Hollywood, where you pay $5,000. Like you basically what
it does seem pretty low bar. By the way, yes, Enchanted is the movie I was thinking of. Patrick Dempsey and Amy Adams. It's sort of it's a fairy tale, but live action. It's a comedy.
Right.
I don't know, man. That seems like not a lot. But I mean, Grey's Anatomy's been around for 25,000 years, so I guess that's why you put in Ellen Pompeo, and I guess if you're okay with Kristen Bell, you should be okay with Josh Gad, I guess. Although even Josh Gad has even been in more, but I don't know. For me, I feel like it should be more like your career is, this is it, you've done it. Like it should be at the end of your career. Kind of not right in the middle of it. Like some of these guys, they're still doing films and stuff. Like, have they really achieved
Josh
it?
Gad is going to have tons more. You're right.
Right.
He's Disney affiliated to the gills, just like Dwayne Johnson. Like they're going to be doing Disney stuff forever.
But
and they're already in.
When I think of a Disney legend when it comes to film or television, I'm like Julie Andrews. No, that's a Disney legend.
Exactly.
Dick Van Dyke.
Exactly.
Like, do something. You know what I mean? Like
I agree.
Really, and let it stand up over time. I'm not sure if Grey's Anatomy will stand up over time. Is that a thing? I guess it has already, 20 years.
I mean, I think it does, certainly, but I think it's just in a different category. So that's, for me, what's weird is when I think of Disney legend, I think it's like very Disney specific. I understand ABC is 100% Disney specific.
Yeah.
So does that mean if we're gonna play that game, does that mean like Chris Berman? And
I was just gonna say, what about ESPN, right? Shouldn't it
So
be Disney content?
I mean, it's totally fair, and it just caught me off guard when I was like, Ellen Pompeo.
Ellen Pompeo.
Like, and it's not that they don't deserve the same recognition and the same thing. Just call it something different. The whole Disney legend thing
right? Yeah, no,
too special.
You deserve lots of credit for doing 20 years worth of Grey's Anatomy, but are you a Disney legend? I don't know. I feel like there should be more of a velvet rope around that.
Just call it what it is. You're an ABC legend.
You're an ABC legend. Yes. There you go.
All right, let's get out of that, because and I don't say that in any disparaging ways, other than to say that there's a couple other things that I definitely want to touch base on, and one of them is Disney Plus Day. Mm-hmm. Another marketing, in my opinion, brilliant little tactic that they're doing. Disney Plus Day at Disney World and Disneyland. A couple things to get everybody up to speed on. One thing that they're doing is, if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, there's additional perks and benefits that you can partake in the parks specifically. There's other things, but in the parks specifically, one thing is 30 minutes before. If you have a reservation and a ticket on the day, you can get in 30 minutes prior to the park opening. And if you're already a Disneyland or a resort hotel guest, you can get in 60 minutes before the park's opening, among other things.
So Magic Morning for Disney Plus. Magic Morning for Disney Plus subscribers. That's kind of a big deal. I mean, that's cool.
Well, it is, but I mean, it's on that day.
Well, still though, it's. I mean, look, they did Disney Plus Day last year, and I don't think anybody even showed. Did anybody even show up? They had the whole blue carpet out there and everything, and it was like.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
thought this was.
Yeah, it was really weak last year. Disney Plus Day was really weak. So this, I mean, I guess they feel like they had to raise the stakes a little bit. I mean, good for them.
Well,
for doing
it's funny that you say that, because I think that not only are they raising the stakes, they are this is where the business ties in, where they always do characters in the parks or little special things when there's a movie premiere coming up. They always have a little event specific to that. They might name a drink or food to try to get buzz for whatever the upcoming movie is.
Sure.
We're seeing the cross promotion of Disney Plus in the parks everywhere, and especially Avengers Campus is the king of it so far.
Yep.
But what they're doing is, in my opinion, is they're finding ways to incentivize more subscribers to Disney Plus. And this is only park specific, but there's other ways that Disney Plus comes in, like whatever discounts they get for other things. But it's just an interesting little wrinkle to say, like, the pyramid of tiers that you can get. Just all you got to do is sign up.
Yeah, if you weren't a Disney Plus subscriber, would you subscribe for a month just so you could get 30 minutes early at Disneyland? I mean, I might.
Yeah, and you only need to you do need a park reservation for that day, because that's the other element. But it's also the day before. It's also interesting, like it's the day before D23, so the people that are going to be there from out of state.
Oh my God, I'm going to be at the park so much. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and it's also, there's more to come with that. There's PhotoPass downloads. There's drinks in the parks. There's blue churros at random locations. This is a global thing that they're doing. But to your point, it wasn't much last year. It's more this year, and I think it will continue to become bigger and bigger thing, because it just makes sense. They want to cross promote. They want to make what's on this. We're going to get into this probably the next topic, Big Thunder Mountain movie. That's the next topic we're going to talk about coming. But Disney Plus is already kind of doing that, where they're trying to create this MCU or this universe, this, you know what I mean, that ties the parks into what's in the theaters, as well as what's on Disney Plus, which isn't in the theaters, and it's just an ongoing thing where they're just cross promoting like crazy and tying everything together with incentivizing one thing or the other, and it's only going to get more and more and more and more of that. Interesting. So from that, go with that, and then go into the news. Big Thunder Mountain movie.
Big Thunder Mountain movie. Yeah, this is something for me anyway, because I'm a huge fan of Big Thunder. And 2, I'm a huge fan of them creating attractions based on rides as opposed to rides based on attractions. I feel like that's the way it should be done. Coming from a Disney Parks fan point of view, people always like, when are we going to get this ride based on this thing or whatever? I'm like, just stop it, because it's such a lowest common denominator style of thinking. I really want them to, Disney that is, be bold, like be creative and try something. And I guess it's too much to ask them to create an attraction that isn't IP based and then turn it into, but at the very least they can say it's kind of a test for that in the future. If we can make a Space Mountain movie or a Big Thunder movie take off like they did Pirates, then maybe that might incentivize them to create more original ideas for theme park attractions in the future.
Yeah, the Pirates obviously is the one that exploded, but they're going to do that with Jungle Cruise, even though you can call it lukewarm or whatever you want, but still, it's going to happen. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. And they've announced, so Scarlett Johansson forever is going to do the Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
The Haunted Mansion is coming out this year. And the only one that remains, actually, they announced Space Mountain a few years ago, and that
was a while ago, and they killed that.
No, there has been many times, but the most recent was the same guy that wrote Obi-Wan, Jovi.
Well, that was a couple weeks ago. They announced that. Yeah.
Space Mountain.
Yeah. That was
a couple years ago.
I just heard the news on what was it? The Wrap. The Wrap reported it just last week that it's a new development.
Okay, but that Space Mountain, that's interesting because I did not hear that. But Space Mountain, it's been a few years when that was announced that they were going to make it, and before that there was some years and years ago. But I hadn't heard anything recent on Space Mountain. But that's also great. I mean, that's great news. You talk about being bold. The being bold is the Matterhorn. The Matterhorn is ripe for a total story, like a total great story, because it has all the elements. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, all of these are going to be fun.
The Matterhorn would be. I would love to see a Matterhorn movie, just as long as they don't. My fear, and when I look at the cast for Haunted Mansion, for example, my fear is that they're going to make it silly. And
I know who's writing it. It's going to absolutely be silly.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Do you want that? I mean, I don't know if I want a Guillermo del Toro level like seriousness, but I also don't want another Eddie Murphy movie either.
Which is, it's not as bad as the world makes it out to be. I watch it every Halloween.
Okay, but see,
every Halloween season. But I got you.
My wife is a huge fan of Haunted Mansion also, and she's fine with the movie too. I don't know. I want better. Maybe that's what I want. I just want a better movie.
Yeah, I think your point, you said it best. Be bolder, and I agree with that. The Haunted Mansion, I think the Haunted Mansion is tricky though, because the Haunted Mansion is not a scary ride. It's supposed to be fun, and there's elements of fear. So that is a kind of a tricky line. And then you look at the casting, like the priest is Owen Wilson. I mean, it's not going to be so that. I mean, there's certain elements that kind of tip the hand. Yeah. And the writer who I worked with is Katie Dippold, who wrote the funny one with Katie McCarthy with the buddy cops, like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
But she's a Parks and Recreation writer, so obviously she's a comedy writer. She's a good writer. She's a fantastic writer. But then you look at the cast. I don't know. It just feels like it's definitely going to have its elements of silly and funny. I hope it does go a little bit dark, and kind of like the same vein as Ghostbusters, actually. Yeah. Something where it's a good dramatic movie, but it's also funny.
You know what it is? Just okay, fine, make it funny. Just make it good, please. Here's the thing where people, I think they lost track. Pirates was a huge success. Still is a success. They're still making Pirates, and they're going to make another one.
Pirates is great. Yeah, and they're going to make another one with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and part of the reason for its success was most of the reason for its success was Johnny's portrayal, which was sillier than they had originally planned. And I feel like they lost the script a little bit when they said, oh my gosh, okay, so that's what people want is this silly thing. And they took that. The reason why Pirates is good is because Pirates was a good movie. It was well written, well directed. It had lots of good action set pieces and things like that. It also had Johnny Depp, who's playing, this sort of, colorful character, but it was a good movie. It was an entertaining, good movie. Haunted Mansion was just being silly for silly's sake. It wasn't a good movie. You know what I mean? Jungle Cruise wasn't a good movie. It wasn't good. I had to stop it.
I liked it.
I didn't. I had to stop it.
Oh,
yeah.
I disagree there.
As soon as those trees came alive and it was like straight out of Dead Man's Chest, or was it Dead Man's, whatever the last Pirates movie.
I thought you were going to say Dusk Till Dawn.
No.
It totally does a whoop on you. Like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
What was I watching just became?
what was, yeah, I'm just like, you know what? I'm out. I can't. Just take it seriously.
I don't know. I think, I don't know. Like, Jumanji is ridiculous and absolutely amazing. Like, I love all the Jumanjis. I don't know. I hear where you're coming from. I just, going into it, I kind of had that silly vibe, and I love African Queen. I absolutely love that movie, and I could see African Queen throughout this movie, and I could see the ride. So I thought I was a big fan of. I understand what you're saying, but I did like it. But anyway, the idea goes right back to your main point, and I completely agree with. Be bold, like give us dark, give us a Disney movie, but give us some drama, give us some tension, take us along for the ride, and like play with our emotions. That is what art is an emotional response. If you're just going to be silly all the way through, it's not very good. But okay, a couple other quick things. We do know that the Disneyland Magic bands are coming back this year. At least that we've been told that throughout like crazy. We'll probably hear specifics on that in a couple weeks at D23. But the reason I bring that up is let our listeners know what you know about the Galaxy's Edge Bounty Hunter, the Batuu Bounty Hunters Guild.
All I know is that it's coming to Disneyland. I mean, it's already been in place at Disney World for a little while. It's coming to Disneyland. There's some walls up in Galaxy's Edge right now that you can see where they're installing some of the interactive features, I think, for that. And it's absolutely 100% an indicator that they are leaning into the Magic Band thing. So, there have been crickets on Magic Bands, but they did say in a Disney Parks blog post a couple weeks ago that by the end of the year we should have the Magic Band Plus, I think it is. Yeah, definitely, absolutely, it's happening. It is definitely happening, and sooner than you might think.
What color are you getting?
0, I think. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get one, to be honest. I mean, well, I guess I will have to because I have to do a video on it, I suppose. But it's just like Genie Plus. I'm a resistor. I want less tech on me. I don't want to. I just want to go to the park and have a good time.
It's funny you say that because the whole point is you still have to carry your wallet. So what the hell?
Yeah, I know, right? So
like, what are you saving me?
There's so little benefit to it, other than the fact somebody brought something up. I couldn't do something. I was carrying a camera and I couldn't buy the thing. And they said, Dave, if you had a Magic Band on, you could have bought the thing while still holding your camera. Anyway, that's a benefit for me. But yeah, there's
so if you don't do Genie Plus, like for me, I don't know. For me buying things, I don't know. I feel like, well, certainly for Lightning Lane, like obviously the Magic, it's great for that.
Yeah.
In general, I just don't see any problem with it in terms of whether I need it or not. I could do without it and be perfectly fine. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm not like stoked about it, but I did think of the color. And I'm 100% going as bright yellow as I can possibly get.
Okay.
I want yellow. I want yellow shirts. I want the world to know that it is challenging to find yellow shirts. And the problem is I don't buy cotton. I mean, these are cotton, but everything is microfiber. Like that's the only kind of shirts I buy. So the yellow is very hard to find. And I want a yellow shirt for Disneyland, and it's just super hard. But I want a yellow Magic Band.
All right.
Mailbag time.
Mailbag.
Probably should have been 20 minutes ago, but mailbag time
we're
now.
Deep into the show to start mailbag.
We're
Ron.
deep, but this is how I make a recovery. There was a lot of fun stuff to talk about there, and we missed last week, so there's that.
Okay.
Mailbag. Do you think? Angelica asks us, David, if they'll ever put Batuu in a future Star Wars film.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. They're gonna bring it. It's just a question of how much. They already have. Batuu has already made appearances in the expanded universe in the novels. There's references to it. It's not a lot, but there's references to Batuu. It's just a question of time, and then how much. But absolutely, you'll be seeing Batuu in a probably a D+ show first. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think they're at the drawing board right now trying to figure out how on earth can we get Batuu in there, and that way we can tie Lord Vader into it and all these other characters, because they need an excuse to get them into the land, even though, I don't know, my son who reads all those books says there is some Vader tie into Batuu from some way.
Yeah, I think in the expanded universe, I think there is. I think it's I want to say in a Thrawn. There's a Thrawn novel where Vader, well, as Anakin, I think, goes to Batuu.
Oh, you might be right.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I have 100. I love buying books and Disney books. I have 100 books. I have all the Thrawn series. I've never read a page. I just buy books for books apparently because I have all the intention in the world. I just keep stacking.
No,
I
hear you. I hear you.
Bookshelves and putting them in there. Yeah. It's like crazy. And I'm so upset about it. And now that I hear this, it's just, and now also I just can't, I feel like I don't remember anything. I must be getting old, because it's like I read something and now I have no idea what I just read. David, regarding I should answer that. 100% yes, Batuu is going to be in a movie, and Taika Waititi's, he's next on the drawing board for the major feature film, and he's already been on record by saying he wants. He didn't say a word about Batuu, and I'm not saying that he's going to put it in there, but he definitely said, I want to go out of the box. I want to create stuff that we don't know about, we haven't seen about, we haven't talked about. Like, he's, Taika Waititi is amazing, mm-hmm. So he's very... So there's definitely some interesting stuff that in his film, and hopefully it ties into Batuu, because the timeline that restricts Galaxy's Edge from our enjoyment bothers me every single day.
Yeah.
David, Angelica, did I put her twice or did I just make it?
I don't know, but that last one was her, yeah.
That was her. So yell at me if I'm wrong, whoever asked this question. It may have been you both times. Regarding your previous D23 discussions, which we had a couple weeks ago, do you think Tarzan's Treehouse announcement could be big enough for D23?
Well, let me rephrase that. Let me answer it in this way. If you don't hear about Tarzan's Treehouse at D23, it means they're not going to retheme it. This is part of a conversation that I may be having. I alluded to about the reservation system, Magic Keys, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, and all that. There could be a connection with Tarzan's Treehouse that I haven't fully fleshed out in my mind. But anyway, if they are retheming it to something like Encanto, then yes, I think that we would hear about that at D23. But if they don't mention Tarzan's Treehouse at D23, that's a sign also. It's a sign that they're doing something else entirely with that piece of property, with that attraction. Something that is not attraction related, if you catch my drift. It may not be an attraction at all.
Right. That is very interesting that you say that, because I come similar thinking, but a little bit different. I don't think it's big enough to announce anything at D23, but I also don't think they can be ignored. So they're not. I almost thought that they were going to say it by just kind of blushing over. Not, in other words, not having a huge presentation, but just saying, and also this is what we're going to do with it. And what I meant by that is I don't think it's going to be Encanto. I don't think the Treehouse is big enough to be Encanto. I just don't. I think Encanto plans bigger than that. Obviously, Encanto fits in there and it's perfect and everything. And the Treehouse is awesome, and we all love it there and want it to be there, and it's great for going to look at different views and that kind of a thing. But it's still just a walk through trash, and you just walk up and through it, right? I feel like I don't think they want to burn that IP on that.
No, you could be right.
They want to put it somewhere.
You could be right.
And but I could be wrong, because everybody seems to think Encanto just fits so perfectly, but it just feels...
Well, I mean...
Let's put it this way. If they put Encanto in that Treehouse, they can't put it anywhere else.
That's true.
and I don't think they do that. That's why
true.
I say no. But that goes to your point, which is very interesting, which I didn't really consider, because I don't think it's big enough to talk about at D23. And if it is, it's just for fodder to add more excitement to something, or it's because they don't have anything to announce whatsoever, so this is what they're going to announce. So I'm not really sure, but it'd be hard to imagine them glazing over it. But you make a really good point. Is because they want nothing to see here, nothing to see here, because there's something to see here later, or there's never going to be something to see here. And they're certainly not going to announce that. So that's interesting. Okay, we'll do one more, David. DCA lacks a great dark ride that cycles through many guests like Pirates and Haunted Mansion does. What dark ride would you like to see at DCA?
Well, first, I would have to beg to differ on the idea that it lacks a dark ride, a great dark ride. Because in my opinion, Radiator Springs Racers is a dark ride. That's just a modern dark ride. They don't make small dark rides anymore. They couldn't even make Little Mermaid a small dark ride. You could fit 4 Toads inside the Little Mermaid building. But it's a dark ride. Radiator Springs is. But to answer that question more specifically, I do think that it does need another dark ride. I think it needs more rides in general. DCA does.
Definitely.
But it does need a people eater. But I don't know what I'd want. I can never answer these because I don't want to lean on.
Because you'll never pick IP.
Because I don't want IP. I don't, because I'm just over it. I don't need a Tarzan ride. I don't need a Hercules ride. I don't need a Beauty and the Beast ride. I don't need any of that. I don't want any of that. If you're going to build something, can we just please one time just try to build something original? One time. Go ahead and just throw caution to the wind and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't envision that happening in my lifetime.
I know, me neither, but still, we can
because
dream, right?
Think about going to here's why, and you know already. How's that pitch meeting go? Like, I got an idea for a ride at Disneyland. Like,
see,
like nobody's even going to listen to it.
This
can't happen.
This is why we have to pay respect and honor the man who built this place to begin with. Because you're right, he didn't have to pitch it to anybody. He said, "We're doing this. We're building Pirates of the Caribbean. We're building Haunted Mansion." There was no pitch meeting. It was about, make this happen, you guys. Here's my idea. Go make it happen. Can't do that today. But he did it, and it worked. So, thank you, Walt, for having the instead of leaning on.
Well, he had the.
Go ahead.
He had the advantage of a clean. I was just going to say he had the advantage of a clean slate, which helps because he created that slate, and now nobody can. You're not touching anything that wasn't already built under his umbrella.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It's so hard isn't it hard in your mind's eye to envision something original though? Like, it's just.
Well, that's when
it feels hard. Like, what would you theme it after? Like, what?
Exactly. Like, you need inspiration, right? You need inspiration. And so when Walt did this, he brought very broad, very large, topics: pirates, ghosts, haunted house, adventure, jungle cruise. These were very broad topics. How many of those exist? Right. There's not a lot of that left, I guess. So.
Right. No, you're right. That's interesting. So I answered Finding Nemo because it does not belong in Tomorrowland. Put Little Mermaid in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't add an attraction. So for the sake of answering the question and adding an attraction, I thought of it in a couple ways. A Bug's Life, because if you want to do Pixar and you want to be nostalgic, because I don't know if I mentioned this on the air before or just with David. I think like Frozen at Disneyland, or I think like when this notion of Encanto, it's so brand new. Or this notion of Lightyear going to theme Space Mountain. Like, I think you need a minimum, a bare minimum of a decade and a couple films to be even considered. To even make the conversation room, and nowhere near the top of that, in my opinion. So, A Bug's Life is nostalgic and a dark ride great for A Bug's Life. I think it holds up for kids, and I think it would work. That's if you want to be nostalgic. I think the best message out there, it's not a Pixar movie, but Zootopia, I think, is a phenomenal message that works in the world in general. Yeah. And then I guess my favorite is Tony Baxter's original, even though it's not really a dark ride, Tony Baxter's Mary Poppins, because I absolutely am a Mary Poppins freak.
That's been seasoned as well. Mary Poppins is seasoned.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That's kind of the route I would go. But Thank you for the questions. Yep. We need to move on to 5 Things Disneyland. That last question, by the way, I did not cite you. It came from Mason Nuno. Thank you. He's always submitting questions. Thank you, everybody, for submitting questions. Send them in. Send them in. We need more top 5 Disneyland, top 5 Disney in general, as well as questions. Thank everybody. And David, this week in 5 Things Disneyland, Farshid, hello. Well, I'm going to say his caller name because I don't want to embarrass myself or him. 5150 Batman, we've heard from before, asks us your 5 favorite quotes stated in a ride. Interesting question.
Yeah, I could,
because I had never thought of that.
I could go on too. I was running through these. I'm like, oh my God, I love this line. Oh, I had so many. I struggled
to think. I can't. How? I don't remember. I've been on the ride 100 times. I couldn't tell you 2 words that are said.
Well,
I just
me too.
Away.
But there are certain once you get to, okay, I'll start with this. My number 5 was Rise of the Resistance, and my favorite line in that is "Tell them it's a prisoner transport," because every time I hear that line at the beginning when you first board your vehicle and you're out there and the guy comes on, he's like, "Tell them it's a prisoner transport." I always say it's a I repeat the line that it's a prisoner. Anyway, that's how I'm approaching this. Is that there are lines, things said in attractions that I enjoy that are fun to repeat for myself. So that would be my number 5 is the Rise of the Resistance line.
Well, the first line that popped in my head that you said, I hope to God you don't have it on your list, was bye-bye.
Oh my God, that was on my list, but
well, it's to that point when I was reading the question.
Yeah.
I'm like, what makes me think Disneyland? So I did come up with the 5 that I thought. But anyway, I had to think about it. Things didn't pop in my mind. A couple popped in my mind. Bye-bye was one, but I didn't want to put it because, I don't know.
It was in my top 10.
Obviously, that's one of the most. I feel like one of the most notable ones. There's a couple other ones, but I have them higher on my list. My number 5 is. You could put anything from Pirates of the Caribbean in, like, I just want it always included and something pirates.
Yeah.
But I like the slang. I like the vitriol that Barbosa says when he says, "Pull your white flags, you scurvy scum." I love it. Scurvy scum. Scurvy scum is a fun terminology I like.
Yeah, I'm really bummed now that I didn't even I don't have a Pirates quote on my list here. But because again, I was kind of like things that I have fun with. So, but there's a lot of very good lines. Right. We once the redhead and or we once the rum. Now I guess can't say the other one, but there's a lot of good lines from Pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
My number 4 is from Splash Mountain. And this goes back to my times with the Ninja. In the song, I don't know the name of the song, but the line is, "How do you do, mighty fine greeting, pretty good, sure as you're born." Nobody knows the actual lyrics, like because everybody has their own lyrics for that particular part of the song. I don't want to sing it because I'm a lousy singer, but I hum that to myself in my head constantly whenever I go on Splash Mountain. I'm like, "How do you do, mighty fine greeting?" I really enjoy that.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree. And that Splash Mountain conversation that you just said, like, I don't mind that they're changing the ride at all, but I will absolutely say that I love the sound of Splash Mountain.
Yeah,
I love it. It feels good when you're going through different elements of it and different songs and the laughing plays, and it's so much fun, and it has a unique feel. And that's my fear. My big fear of when it changes over is the nostalgia of missing that soundtrack. To your point, the laughing place and the how do you do, or what is it?
How do you do, mighty fine greeting, pretty good, sure as you're born.
Yeah, that's so great. I love it. My number 4, also classic. Again, this one pops in everybody's head. Of course, there's always my way, and that's the Haunted Mansion. And it's like, but the whole thing is, and consider this dismaying observation: this chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out.
That's another attraction that I didn't include. I love it. I didn't include Haunted Mansion on my list, maybe because people repeat those lines so much in the stretching room that I'm like,
well, that's exactly the bye-bye thing. Yeah. So to your point, that's why I said it is of course there's always my way or whatever. Bye-bye. Like these are the things that annoy people, the pet peeves when you're on an attraction.
I'm not annoyed by bye-bye though.
Well, I'm not annoyed by it either, but people often cite that things that they're annoyed by is when people say the lines. And my son always wants to do the Haunted Mansion, and because of that, I say don't do it.
Don't do it.
People don't like it. I love it. I think it's fun. I think it's part of a community. We're all there. But people that have never experienced it before, I totally get it. Yeah. So that's why we don't do it. But there.
Okay. Well, my number 3, got to include something from Casey Jr., one of my favorite attractions in the park. A lot of things you can quote from Casey Jr., but the part that makes me smile, the part that makes me happy is when he says Fantasyland Station at the end there. I don't know why. That makes me, whenever I say the word Fantasyland, just going throughout the park, I think about that that line from the attraction.
I always think of I think the choo choo up that part.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's so great. It's so subtle.
Yeah.
It's almost like you need to be. I suppose kids would know it too, but I remember from such a story in our youth was the I think I can element of it. So it's like it's kind of a subtly like hidden Mickey kind of thing.
Yeah.
My number. What are we on? 3. My number 3 is, and this goes back to what you were saying. Rides that we hear the lines all the time. This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. Big Thunder Mountain. Absolutely love it. That's another ride which I think is underappreciated, the sound of it. Like the theme, like that guy's voice, the whole thing. Is like people don't really talk about the theme that you would hear at Big Thunder, but it's definitely present. It's kind of like a score in a movie. Like imagine it not being there. It changes everything.
Yeah, and don't forget there's also the hats and glasses and best remove them line when you first take off. That's right. I completely forgot about that one as well. Good stuff. Funny. Big Thunder. Yeah, you got to pull something from there. Okay, so my number 2, I'm going with, again, one of my favorite attractions, and this one's probably a little basic, I guess, but again, for me, it makes me happy when I hear it, and that's the Mark Twain when he says Mark Twain. The guy when they call it out, the way he calls it out, that deep bass voice that he's got, and I love
2 words on the river.
Yeah, oh man, it just makes me so happy. Just that whole speech, but really, it was, when he shouts out Mark Twain, it's perfection. It's perfection.
I love that part too. I almost included it. Didn't make my final cut. But that one almost included it because, like I said, I think he says after he says the guy shouts like Mark Twain or whatever. Like then the guy's like, that's the best 2 words on the river.
Yeah, because it means it's 2 fathoms deep.
Yeah, exactly. That's so great. My number 2 is I always go back to this because I just have fun with it. It's that whole rocket unplugging it and plugging it in. It's like, when he cuts off the collector. Yeah, when Rocket unplugs you and things start rocking. And then the music plays. And he's like, now show me those hands, people. You click, you have the clearance and zoom, you're gone. It's so fun. I love that.
Great line.
That moment that might be my we've talked about this before, but my favorite moment in the parks as far as entertaining, what goes without entering in that thing, like the rope drop noise, you could say. But my favorite 5 seconds or couple seconds is that rocket unplugging it and then that party starts. It's so darn fun. I love it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. Okay, last one. I'm going with Disneyland Railroad, and I wish I could use the. Oh boy. I just now realized, the sound of your attention, please, is perhaps the single greatest sound you could hear. I had picked something else, but now I just realized, how could I pass that up? There's a line when you're coming around the bend on the backside of the Rivers of America when he says, this is my favorite part of the journey. I say that to myself in perfect unison with him every single time I ride. But man, how do you top your attention, please?
My number 1, your attention, please. The Disneyland Unlimited. It's so funny. Yeah, I totally agree. Because back to the top of what you just said, and like at the top of the segment, things that you think of right away, like the bye-bye thing. Yeah. So when I start thinking of like, what lines do I know? Your attention, please. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Let's get rocking, people. Yeah. Like these are the things that popped in my head 100%. You're right. I think so. The Mark Twain and the Disneyland Railroad that's just as Disneyland gets in my eyes, and that Disneyland and the other beautiful thing of it is you're not even in the park yet. You could be walking under the gates to get in, and you hear from the Main Street train station, and you hear "Your attention, please," and you're not even up there on it. It's so cool, and I totally agree. That's very Disneyland to me, as Disneyland as it gets.
You know you're at Disneyland when you hear that sound.
Yep. That's right. That's a wrap on this week's show, David.
Yep.
Any buttons you want to put in on anything that we discussed?
All buttons are fastened. I think we covered a lot of ground today. I think we're good. Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Yeah, we did. We covered a lot of ground. We are still going to be... I guess we're a few weeks away from D23, so we'll have more to talk about as we get closer to that. But I guess a great show today, and great to be back on the show and have the fans back with us and chiming in and sending us questions. Thank you, everybody. So join us next week, and until then,
Fresh baked.